Welcome everyone. I'm Kathy Harder. I'm president of P.E.R.C, Parents Encouraging Responsible Choices. We're really glad you all are here. It should be a fantastic time. I'm going to learn a lot of different things, and it's very interactive. So when you have questions, please raise your questions. If I don't get to a microphone, then they'll repeat your questions, which is awesome. But again, P.E.R.C, Parents Encouraging Responsible Choices, is a parenting program through our Dublin PTOs. We're an extension of them. And we've been around for 15 years, which is awesome. We meet the third Wednesday of the month, and you are all more than welcome to come to our meetings. This is the time of year we start talking about what kind of programming we're going to do next year. And I think it was probably a year ago we started reaching out to you all to see if you'd be interested in doing that. So really, it's really important, when we have a lot of people around the table expressing ideas and things like that. So we meet the third Wednesday of the month at 9:30 at Central Office. All welcome to come. And also, let me go back to my notes there. I do want to thank all of our PTOs for all of their support with us. Dublin City Schools, Nationwide Children's Hospital, like today. Jessica's from Nationwide Children's Hospital. Cintero's been always great. Mac Mazia is a great supporter of ours, and of course the Abbey Theater. Thank you for all your support as well too. We have surveys that are on our website, P.E.R.C website. Go to that, fill that out too, because that helps us out with programming. Remember, on February 29th, that's a Saturday, is Be Well. Dublin City Schools has this wonderful day that you can come and sign up for different programming, parenting programming, and things like that. And it's a wonderful way to hear about insights to parenting. It's a one-day opportunity. They're working with Hilliard City Schools on that in the morning. There's an author that's there, so look into that. You can sign up for classes now. It's a great opportunity. And this will be the second year that they've put this together in this format. So also in the springtime, look for our family night, Dublin Family Night, and that's always a great opportunity for families to get together and things of that sort. Our superintendent does send out an email to ask for no tests the next day, things like that, so you can really kind of have some family time. Let me get to our speakers for tonight, and like I mentioned, we are really excited to have them here, and we've been working on this idea for some time because we know how it is when parents are really trying to get it all together at that dinner time, breakfast time, and get out the door quickly. And so these are some really good ideas that we have. We have Emily DeRay is here. Let me tell you a little bit about Emily. She has a journalism background from Ohio University. She's a self-taught home cook that has been making meal plans and testing recipes for 20 years. I also want to mention that, just to be clear, this is before she started her family, by the way, too. So Emily says cooking has always been a stress reliever. So I was really glad to hear about that, too, because I think that can be true. And then now she looks at her kitchen as the center of her home, which is really a beautiful way to think about that. She loves to cook with her family, which includes her husband and 3 daughters. Her daughters' ages are 14, 11, and 9, so she's seen it all. As a stay-at-home mom with busy kids, she faced challenges with picky toddlers, evening activities, busy sports schedules, and so forth. She's a Dublin parent, which is great, and very active in our community, and we appreciate all that you do for our community and our schools. Also, Jessica Napolitano is here. She is, and this is interesting to me, she's the first registered dietitian on staff for the sports medicine department at Nationwide Children's Hospital. In February 2016, she obtained her certification as a board-certified specialist as a sports dietitian. Sorry, this is loud now. Jessica graduated from Otterbein University with a Bachelor's of Arts in Athletic Training. Jessica graduated from Mary Wood University, where she completed her master's degree in sports nutrition and exercise science. In addition to her clinical responsibilities at Nationwide Children's Hospital, she provides cooking demonstrations, grocery store tours, which I think that would be awesome. She does the Dine with a Dietitian, and there's a blogger out there through Nationwide Children's Hospital that she has been a part of as well too. So look up those. Jessica's personal interests include anything outdoors, spending time with her husband in Chocolate Lab, Arthur, cooking with friends and family, grocery shopping, especially in farmers markets, and I wonder if you'd come to our Dublin one, because we're going to have to get you to come to that.
I'm going to need
It's new. It's lovely.
Yeah.
But without further ado, enjoy tonight. It'll be a wonderful opportunity. At the end, when you leave, you'll get to try everything. And we'll pass around what all the little pieces that we're making too, the meals. So you get to see things up close and then try and measurably. Thank you.
So much. All right, thank you everyone for braving the beautiful winter conditions outside tonight. I stepped outside of work and between presentations today, I went to work and I stepped outside 6 hours later and white deadish, right? So thanks for making your way out and making time tonight. Emily and I are so excited to be here and making all these recipes for you. We came up with these recipes together. We've made them at home. We're going to be getting a lot of tips, tricks, things along the way. My day job, as Kathy mentioned, is I work at Nationwide Children's Hospital in the sports medicine department. So I work one-on-one with athletes and their families all day, every day, working with poor eating habits, picky eating habits, food allergies, intolerances, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I really enjoy the puzzle of that. So I'm going to be talking a lot about those tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. And Emily will be sharing a lot of her parenting tips along the way in the kitchen because sometimes they don't mesh, right? Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, and that's okay. So I'll be talking a lot about that and what that really looks like from a realistic perspective at home as well. So our first recipe that we're going to be starting with is baked oatmeal cups. I'm really excited to get that started.
So these are really good. I tested a bunch of stuff yesterday so that we would have some samples to hand out at the end of the day, and my kids walked in and said, "Ooh, it smells good, can I have one?" So they have them for snack. They would be great for breakfast. You do breakfast for dinner, you could do that as well. I'm making them in a muffin tin, which portion size makes it nice and easy, grab and go. You can freeze them individually and pull them out as you need them. Just want to start by preheating your oven, which we're going to pretend we have.
The magic of TV. These are all going to cook up and it's going to be,
And you get to try it after. Spray the inside of your pan so you can get everything out. And then what I have found with these is the hardest part is getting some of the wet ingredients mixed up. So I like to start with my sweetener, which is my applesauce. And then add my protein in and start to mix these together a little bit before I add my milk and my eggs. Otherwise you end up sloshing everything all over the place. So we had peanut butter at home. That's why I chose this. We do not have any allergies at my house, so we're lucky we can use just about anything when we cook. You could also substitute some melted butter or coconut oil for that peanut butter if kids in your house just don't like nut butter, or if you have some allergies that you have to be aware of. So these mix in really nice together, and it's a good way to kind of get it started before you get everything messy and gooey.
sunflower butter is also a good option if you have nut allergies or intolerances. The same, when we're saying butters, like nut butter, peanut butter, almond butter, cashew butter, sunflower butter, it's literally that nut or that seed ground up into a butter-like consistency. So sometimes that phrase confuses people. So please ask questions if there's confusion about that at all. We can barely see you, but someone will see you enough to let us know. like have to hide under here.
And we will post the recipes too.
Yes. Yeah.
So these are more of like a muffin, like a blueberry muffin kind of consistency. They've got some egg and a little bit of baking powder that kind of binds it all together.
I'm just curious, because peanut butter has a lot of sugar.
It doesn't have to.
Okay, so how do you get peanut butter that doesn't have sugar and all the other nasty stuff?
Sure. So peanut butter, you know, again, almond butter, cashew butter, other things like that. You can just turn around, look at that label, and make sure it just says peanuts and salt, or almonds and salt, or just peanuts, or just almonds. In a lot of grocery stores now, you can grind your own, and it's in a machine, and you hit a button, and it's, I mean, I'm 33 years old, and it's fun for me. So it might be fun for other people too. But yeah, you just have to read that ingredient label to make sure.
And there are a lot of, if stand in the aisle with the peanut butter. There's a ton of different kinds. If you look for some that say natural, that's a good place to start, and then flip around and look at the label. So I've got all my wet stuff in here, a little bit of vanilla, and then the only spice or extra sweetener that I have 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, which really isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. Some cinnamon and a little bit of baking powder. Just kind of helps it all bind together and rise a little bit like a muffin. You get all this stuff stirred up.
Smells amazing.
It smells like cinnamon.
I love being right here.
And then you dump in your oats. So you have a couple options at this point. If you let it sit for a few minutes, the oats start to absorb the water a little bit, and you will make a lot less mess when you put it in your muffin tin. Your other option is to grab just like a little 1/3 of a cup measure, and it makes it really easy to scoop and get it in the muffin tin. I made a huge mess this morning when I tried to pour it. If that happens at home, you just clean it up a little bit. So that is these muffins, and it's really nice. They don't rise that much, so you can really fill the muffin tin.
Again, the magic of TV.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what we've got.
Yeah.
And this recipe is really versatile, which was one of the things I liked about it. We have just made the standard peanut butter applesauce brown sugar at home. You could do any sort of puree. So you could get pumpkin puree if you're a big pumpkin spice fan. Throw a little bit of pumpkin pie spice in there with your cinnamon. You could do mashed up bananas. You know how when the bananas start to get a little too ripe and the kids roll their eyes or wrinkle their noses because it's brown and icky? Mash it up and throw it in there, and it would be a great addition for your sweetener. And then you could add any nuts or chocolate chips or anything that your kids might like, just to maybe encourage them to try it if it's a little bit different. I know at home we often ask our kids what they would like to add, and when you've got it in a muffin tin like this, you can do those customizations.
And what I've done, my goddaughters are coming this weekend, so I have this fresh on my brain. They're 14 and 19, but really picky eaters. So I actually put the toppings in a muffin tin, whether it's like chocolate chips or nuts or dried cranberries or whatever it is that you want to put in it, and then they can kind of pick and choose their own, like the base that you have right now. And like Emily said, you can put them in the muffin tin and do them individually, or you can wait if they're like, I don't want anything. I've got athletes and patients that are like, I do not want my foods mixed, right? There's lots of rules that we have to adhere to sometimes, but they're okay with it on top, right? So just whatever people prefer, you have all of the options with all of the recipes that we're offering today. Okay,
Yeah.
we're good? Ready?
I think so.
Okay, so and then as you mentioned, you would just scoop that and bake it in the oven and voila. They freeze really well, they refrigerate really well. I personally, when I make baked oatmeal, I put it in an 8x8 or a 9x9 tray as well. I don't know why. I don't have a good reason. It does. Yes,
Same
so like
with
the
all.
timing would change.
Yeah.
But as far as like the taste or anything like that, no difference. Yep. All right, yeah, let's switch gears to the frittata cups. These are how many years have you been
I've been
making
making
these?
frittatas for like 20 years. It was one of the
Yeah.
first recipes I found when I first got married. It was actually a Laura Di Lorenzo's recipe for any of you who like Food Network. Hers was really different. It had leftover pasta and pulled chicken and cottage cheese and some herbs in it.
In an egg cup.
In an egg cup. What I learned from that is you can swap those things out. This is like the get rid of your leftovers recipe. If you've had a couple kinds of vegetables during the course of the week, leftover breakfast meat, if you have lunch meat, any of those things, you can throw it in. You can do potatoes, lots of different starches. You can make this whatever you want. I like mine with potatoes and mushrooms and broccoli. My kids like a version that we call a pizza frittata, and we line the cups with pepperoni. I'll show you that here in a minute. So we just kind of make it what we want, and then everybody can be a little more picky with dinner, but we're all still eating the same meal, which is really nice on a busy night. So these are super easy to throw together. It is the base, and you can multiply it as many times as you want. 1/2 cup of liquid. I usually use milk. But if you have people who don't like milk, or you have a milk intolerance, you can use water, you can use broth, and then 4 eggs. And you just mix them up. Add a little bit of seasoning. I have just a general seasoned salt. You can use any spice blend that you've got, just a little salt and pepper. Again, super customizable.
With the milk, we got a question about the milk this morning that I thought was really great for this. You can also use almond milk or soy milk or any other alternative milk that you want for this as well. The thing that will change potentially is the flavor, just a little bit. I shared that I added unsweetened vanilla almond milk to this one time.
I wouldn't recommend that.
I would recommend it. I didn't know, I didn't like it, but my husband didn't notice it at all. So sometimes you just have to go with what you have, but that's my recommendation.
And if you don't have any of those things, just add
Yeah.
water. It
Right.
just needs to thin the eggs out a little
Yeah.
bit. So here's where the fun comes in. Honestly, these are things I pulled out of my refrigerator. I had leftover broccoli, some lunch meat, mushrooms. This was the filling from an enchilada that we had earlier in the week, black beans and sweet potatoes. You just dump it in and really kind of fill the cup up with the stuff that looks good.
And if I may point this out, I should have pointed this out this morning. I really like that she brings this little guy with a little lip as well, because when you're pouring things into a casserole dish or muffin tins, that little spout is key. I've made enough messes to share that.
So this one is my kid's favorite. 3 slices of pepperoni and you make a little cup. And then add a little potatoes and some cheese.
The potatoes are cooked.
Yes.
Potatoes are cooked.
And you could use hash browns if you've got them in the freezer. If you have leftover roasted potatoes from earlier in the week, you could throw those in. Whatever you have in your refrigerator. And then the nice thing is you just top these off. Leave a little room because the eggs will grow as they bake. And then they go in the oven for about 20 minutes. You'll know they're done when they're not wiggly anymore, like if you just jiggle the pan a little bit. If the center is set, they're good. And again, this is one of those recipes that you could freeze individually and pull out for breakfast or have them for dinner. We've done it both ways, depending on what you put on the side.
Yeah. And this recipe is also great if you have meat eaters in your family, if you have plant-based eaters, vegans, vegetarians. A lot other recipes that we're going to talk about are different options that you can keep all deconstructed. My advice when I'm telling athletes and their parents, when we're working in clinic, and really anyone, is that if you have a plant-based eater or you are yourself, the goal is to try to eat the same base meal, right? And you can leave different ingredients and things deconstructed. We're going to make another dish here in a little bit that will talk about just making the same base, but keeping half, like 1/2 lentils, 1/2 with meat, other things like that, so you're not making 2 meals, right? And any option that people prefer to eat is fine, but the goal is that we all try to eat the same base together as a family, so we're not becoming made-to-order chefs. Yeah, life's busy enough, right? Like there's a lot of things that we're trying to juggle in the air on busy nights, and even weekends are full most often. Yeah. Big one with this is that we said so far and that we are saying moving forward is trying not to overcomplicate, right? Like Emily has said a couple times, this is stuff she already has in the refrigerator ready to go, things from leftover dinners and meals and snacks throughout the week. Both of these things keep really great during the week for snacks or breakfast or even meals, like on the go. You know, sometimes I have baked oatmeal as part of my lunch and I just kind of build different things around that. A great question I had this morning was like building a balanced breakfast. What does that look like? And my advice when you're building, whether with the frittata cups or with the baked oatmeal, is especially for your young ones to try to get 3 to 4 food groups as part of their breakfast. So it would be maybe a frittata cup, a piece of fruit, and a yogurt, or baked oatmeal with some nut butter and a banana, or something, a glass of milk. Something to that effect. Just kind of build around it, and it doesn't have to be anything really complicated. It can be all grab-and-go stuff. And if your kiddo does not like breakfast, there are people, it blows my mind, but there are people that don't like breakfast food. That's okay. They can have turkey sandwich or a ham sandwich, burrito, leftovers from the night before. It's fine, right? It's nourishment for your body. That's okay, right? The day after Thanksgiving, I eat the leftovers for breakfast, and I'm not ashamed. It's great, right? So just thinking outside the box sometimes a little bit gives you a little bit of that reassurance as well.
We had another question this morning. Someone said that their kids don't like to eat
Yes.
breakfast.
Yes.
And so you gave them really good advice. You want to share that as well?
Yeah, we both had the same idea at the same time. We looked at each other and said smoothie, right? So sometimes in the morning when your appetite's not particularly strong, right? But we're always willing, I know as adults, and I'll throw myself under the bus, we're always willing to have our coffee, right? We're always willing to drink something most of the time. You can really add a lot of nourishment to a smoothie, right? Get a good base in there, whether it's milk or an alternative milk, yogurt, some fruit. You can even sneak some vegetables in there, believe it or not, right? My advice is maybe to find a recipe to start, because I've heard a lot of horrible smoothie combinations before, and they're like, I don't like smoothies. I'm like, well, you put ginger, kale, water, and plums in there. That's why. Like, that sounds really bad. I wouldn't eat that either, right? So making sure that you're finding things that they like and that they enjoy, but they're sometimes more apt to drink a smoothie for nourishment. Another great suggestion we talked about this morning was if they don't like to drink a smoothie, they don't like the texture for whatever reason, buy some cheap popsicle molds and you can freeze the smoothie and maybe they'll like that texture better. It's great for in the summer too. It's often a cool treat when they come home from sports late, it's hot. I don't know, I do tell my athletes to eat in the shower if they need to. If they're just really tired and they want to go to bed and they're wanting to skip one thing or another, whether it's the shower or eating, and really either shouldn't go without being done before bed, eat in the shower. It's fine. as long as your parents say it's okay, right? It's good advice. Yes.
As a nutritionist, do you have any comments on Dr. Oz's recent comment about not eating breakfast?
Just kidding. No, I know that is that is a loaded question, right? So I don't give general advice, right? I give, I work with athletes like one-on-one, and sometimes it is an individual answer. Sometimes breakfast really is, like I had an athlete this week that was like, breakfast is a no negotiation, right? They do not want to eat breakfast, they're completely against it, so we compromise on a snack at 10 o'clock before they have lunch. That's breakfast-ish enough, right? As long as they're getting their fuel and their energy and later in the day and they're eating enough in the hours that they are eating, that's fine, right? Yeah, but as far as like not eating breakfast and that being general standard practice, I can't get on board. Yeah. And again, like the game totally changes for adults and kids, right? Adults, kids, adolescents, right? They're growing, they're young, bone development, preventing injuries, all of the things that I could go into, that is very different between us, energy needs for adults versus kids and adolescents. Yeah. Any questions about baked oatmeal cups, frittata cups so far? Yes.
For both of them, if you freeze them, do you cook them straight from frozen water or do you thaw them out first?
Question is, if you freeze either one of these, do you thaw them out first or do you bake them?
I have never had enough left over that we've had to freeze them. I can.
You can. It works.
I would probably defrost the oatmeal cups.
Yes.
So they're not like, sometimes you heat things up in the microwave and it like scorches in the middle but not on the outside. Defrost those. I think these would be better if they thawed a little bit before you tried to cook them. Otherwise, you're going to lose all of your cheese and things as it cooks. So maybe give it a few minutes out on the counter while you're getting lunches ready or whatever, and then pop it in the microwave.
We have a question.
You said you cook the potatoes. Are you cooking, sauteing all of your vegetables before you put them in the frittata?
Honestly, that's personal preference. I like my broccoli a little like al dente, a little chewy, a little light. I like to saute my mushrooms. A lot of times it's leftovers that I have in the fridge. Potatoes would not be good raw, but if you could eat it raw, there's no reason why you couldn't just throw it in there. It just depends on preference, how much crunch you like.
Yeah. I've done it both ways. I like it both ways. And sometimes when you roast it or steam it a little bit and put some spices on ahead of time, it just gives it a little bit of a different flavor. But yeah, neither are wrong.
All preference.
All answers are correct.
Here's a question.
She's
Is the oatmeal quick or old-fashioned?
I use old fashioned, but we talked about this morning. I know some kids have texture issues, this is just what I had at the house. You could absolutely use the quick cooking oats if that's what you have at home.
And it is okay, we had a question this morning, is it okay to eat raw oats? And the answer is yes. Like foodborne illness does not touch, like it's not meat, it's not eggs, it's not dairy, it won't spoil. I could take those oats right now and just put them in my mouth and eat them. That would be really bad.
You don't do it.
Don't do it. But you could, and nothing's gonna happen to you unless you have, like the oats are naturally gluten-free. If you have someone who's gluten-free in your family or celiac disease, you want to make sure that they're certified gluten-free oats. If you want to dump them in first. Awesome. Those are all good questions. All right, so we're gonna move on to my favorite, the granola bars. These are 5-ingredient granola bars.
No bake, which is awesome. The hardest part is this right here. This is a bag of dates.
Very appetizing.
I know, it's, you think you're not gonna get it right, and then it just all comes together miraculously. You have to stick them in your food processor and turn it on, and it's gonna make a bunch of loud noises at you, and you're gonna think I've done it all wrong, and eventually it's gonna turn to a puree and kind of make a ball. That's where you wanna be. You might wanna check for pits if you're pulling the dates out of the bag. I did find a few as I was getting the stuff together. You will hear them in the food processor.
You would.
They don't really chunk up. It's not like a nut. They're not going to break up. You'll hear it. You can turn it off and pull them out. So I followed the recipe to a T the first time, and then I changed it a little bit as I went. More in the process, not so much the ingredients. So I like to start with the dates. It says to add the oats at this point. I think they're really hard to get mixed in. The next thing you add is some peanut butter or a nut butter that you've added honey, agave nectar, or maple syrup to, and you heat it up on the stove or stir it up so it all dissolves a little bit. If you pull that out while it's still a little bit warm and mix it in with your dates, it makes mixing it so much easier.
This is where I also follow the recipe to a T still before I met my friend Emily. And it's just great now. Life is so much better.
It does take a little muscle. If you decide that the wooden spoon is not your thing, if you have hands-on kids, bring them in the kitchen, wash their hands, get them to squish it all up.
They love slime.
Yeah,
I love
this is generally in that neighborhood. And then the hardest part, honestly, is getting the oats mixed in. So if you're patient enough to stand here and kind of mush it all together, these are very much worth it. The next thing we're going to add are the oats and almonds. The recipe calls for toasting them in the oven, which I went ahead and did for the presentation, but Jessica said she doesn't always. So that's really just a time thing. If you're short on time, you can make it without, or if you don't like toasted oatmeal, just skip that step entirely. They were really easy to toast. You just throw them on a cookie sheet, stick them in the oven for about 10 minutes at 350, and you'll start to smell them. You get this really nice aroma, and that's when you know they're done. And I throw those in a little bit more too, because I'm too impatient to wait for them to cool all the way down. You're not going to hurt them.
Yeah. So I love also about these recipes that they're really forgiving, right?
Yes.
I am much more of a cooker than a baker, because when you're baking, you really need to follow the steps because it's food science, right? So like you can really mess something up. But with with cooking, you can generally like addend the steps or mix things together a different way, and it's usually okay. Yeah.
And so we've tried these a couple different ways at home. I was always someone who just bought granola bars. I have some family members in the audience. They can give me a thumbs up if this is an accurate statement. These are really good, and I may not need to buy granola bars anymore. Yes?
We have a
That's
thumbs up.
7-year-old. We have tried them with almonds and walnuts. We've tried them with craisins and chocolate chips. You can put whatever you want in these. If you have kids who like banana chips, crunch them up and throw them in. We do coconut. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Little dried coconut.
It's a really good way to get, all of these recipes, to use up stuff, get creative.
Yes.
Like, what in the world am I going to do with these banana chips? Or, I have a lot of Costco-sized oats right now for just my husband and I. So I make a lot of baked oatmeal and homemade granola bars and things like that, because you use a lot all at one time.
So this is the base recipe. This is where you get to have your fun. I brought some craisins and chocolate chips. You just add those in. I added too much this morning and the granola bars did not stay together, so we're going to granola for breakfast tomorrow.
And that's, I mean, worst case scenario, right? But this doesn't quite go as planned. You have granola.
That's right.
All is well.
So here's another place where I don't follow the instructions. I have 2 pans that are the same size, line it with parchment, and then you dump all of your granola in here. And the recipe says to take a glass and just press it into the pan, which sounds really easy and obvious, but it's not so much. I had granola everywhere. So,
And that's what I've been doing for 2 years.
I cut another piece of parchment, you could probably use wax paper, saran wrap, anything like that. And then I take my second one and I smush it. Oops, and I do the
Okay.
whole
I
table
knew
in the
she
process.
did this this morning. She's so strong, she bends the table.
If you've got little ones, they can stand in it if their feet will get in the pan.
Ooh.
You know, you have to help. So the nice thing is you get these really nice and smushed down, put them in the refrigerator for about 10 minutes, and then you can cut them with a knife. And you get granola bars. They're really good.
Look how pretty. Mine are lumpy bumpy, right? These are beautiful. Look like store-bought.
There's samples out there. Try one before you go.
So good. Yes. Oh, and sorry, I did not display Vanna White style frittata. Hold on.
Yes, I'll take that.
Let me go back. They're too pretty not to share.
This is the magic of television.
Yeah, right. Or live through demos, whichever. All right. Beautiful. Any questions about the 5-ingredient granola bars? You could also, I've done these with roasted nuts as well. I do them in a cast iron skillet, just a little bit of oil, turn it to like medium to medium high heat, somewhere in that range, and then just make sure you watch them, and again, they're done when you smell them, right? And I know that's when you're a type A personality, really like instructions, really like to listen to the people food demoing. I promise you'll smell it, and I also promise you'll smell it when it's burning, and you've left it there too long. Emily gave a great tip this morning.
They're not salvageable.
Do not salvage them. All you will taste is burnt granola bar, right? That's all you will taste. Just start over. All will be
And
fine.
the reason she's not giving you a time is every stove is different, every burner has a different amount of heat, every pan holds the heat differently. You just kind of have to stir them and keep an eye on them, and when you
Yeah.
smell them, they're done.
That's it. It's really easy. Awesome. So now we're going to transition more to dinners and meals type things. So along these lines, again, please keep asking. These questions are awesome and so helpful, and I hope they're helpful to you as well. We're going to be talking about different ways that we can make this, vegetarian and include meat, but all of them are meant to be quick and easy, prepared different ways, and also eaten different ways. And along the way, I'm going to be giving some picky eating strategies and things like that, as well as talking about the benefits of meals and talking about things over dinner and things like that. So mind our conversation just kind of maybe jumps back and forth between questions and whatnot, but I have my outline. I promise we'll get all the content out.
So, these, for the recipe, are called lentil sloppy joes.
Oh, yes.
We're not going to call them that.
No.
Because at my house, sloppy joe means manwich. And when you tell your children you're making sloppy joes for dinner and you put these in front of them, they're going to think you like bait and switch them, right? So we're going to call them lentil ragu, lentil sliders, any creative name you can come up with to get your kids to try lentils, just don't call them sloppy joes.
Yeah.
We had very mixed reviews at my house. My husband, I love them, and he's a meat eater. He would like meat every night for dinner. My 14-year-old did not greet them enthusiastically. She declined dinner that evening. And my younger two ate them. So part of it, I think, was expectations. Part of it, I think, was that she was 14. They're really good.
Yeah.
And you'll get to try them afterwards. I think part of it was my presentation. So we'll go with that. Yeah. I did a lot of the prep work on these at home, so you can actually kind of see what they look like. I diced up some onion and sauteed them in a little bit of oil. So we'll pretend, even though I have no heat. throw your onions in and let them start to get translucent. It takes, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, depending on how high you have your stove up. And then after they've cooked a little bit, you add a little bit of pepper. I used orange, I've used red. They're a little bit sweeter. I think that gains me a little more acceptance at my house. My family doesn't tend to like green pepper. And then a little bit of garlic. Throw those in, let those cook for a little while. So once everything starts to soften, I'm going to pull from a friend's playbook. This is where the spices come in. This is a little bit of cumin, paprika, chili powder, salt, and pepper. Pretty straightforward. Add it at this point. Give it a little stir, and as you cook it, it's going to mix with that oil and the veggies, and you're going to start to smell the flavors. They're going to come alive a little bit.
And you can smell it right now. Like, don't get me wrong, this smells delicious. It's cooking or not, heat or not, it smells really good.
But your kitchen will smell really great. Then you add a can of tomato sauce.
And what could you do ahead of time to make this process quicker? On like a busy night or weekend or whatever.
You could pre-do all these vegetables. If you do your meal prep on Sunday, just pre-chop some veggies and throw them in a container. If you made fajitas one night that week and you had leftover peppers and onions, stick them in here. You could buy stuff off the salad bar. Like if you're desperate for getting things like pre-chopped and just getting a jump start, if buying things off the salad bar gets you the dinner on the table, take the shortcut.
Yeah.
So those are all things that are pretty easy to mix in. And this would keep really well. You could make it on Sunday and serve it on Tuesday, or again, you could freeze it and pull it out when you need it. So we've got our veggies done. We're going to add our tomato sauce. We're just going to let this simmer on the stove for a little bit. It'll start to get thick and a little bit sticky. It'll start to look like sandwich does when you first open the jar. It picks up a really nice flavor and color from all those spices. And then once you get to that point, a little bit of Worcestershire. And then some pre-cooked lentils. Lentils are super easy. It's like 15 or 20 minutes on the stove with just boiling water.
Sometimes different colors have different cook times and things like that, so just make sure whether you're using green, yellow, red lentils, just make sure you do a little bit of research before.
And a lot of times it'll say on the back of the pack.
Yes, yes.
So then you just mix it all up and serve it however you would serve a sloppy Joe. You can buy super fun buns, you can do little sliders if you have young kids that don't eat a full sandwich.
I would eat this out of a bowl or out of the pan from the stove.
I see it to the bun night that we made, and we had a salad and sloppy joes, and I just ate this with my side salad. So it's good. And if you have kids that have texture issues, you could smush these lentils a little bit so they're not so big and have that pop.
Yeah.
And
Or immersion blender works
That would
too.
work too.
An immersion blender, yeah.
This isn't quite a question, but I was just gonna say, I have been loving a sloppy joe recipe lately. And instead of doing the bun, so if you have gluten-free in your house,
Yeah.
you put it down in a casserole and top it with little tater tots. And then put it in the oven, so it's like a little sloppy joe casserole. You can sprinkle like cheddar on top if you want. But that was like, I bet that would be really good.
That
Too.
sounds like an
Just
awesome
another-
suggestion.
anything with tater tots.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, she wanted all the kids in America over her. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great suggestion. Yeah, really great suggestion.
You know, it doesn't take a long time. 5 minutes maybe cooking. It's pretty thick.
It is. I think another prep step for me, I personally, and people tell me I'm weird, enjoy cutting veggies. It's slow, I don't know, it just slows me down, and it's just therapy for me, like you said with cooking, it's good. But what I do not like is prepping the spices. There's 7 bottles out, and I have to get them all, and then I have to use the teaspoon, and all the things, I don't like that step. So for me, what would save me on a busy night too is prepping that spice mixture together, so all you have to do is dump one thing all together versus things from 7 bottles. But again, individual preference and just little tidbits we learn along the way.
And I tend to fall in the Rachel Ray camp. She never has measuring spoons out, if you've ever watched her show.
Yes.
She
that's
measures
true.
things in her palm, and
Yeah.
based on where her palm is, she knows if it's a tablespoon or a teaspoon. And I do that a lot. I did measure these to meet
Yeah.
the recipe so you would know what you were getting. You can dump it. You're gonna know if it tastes right when
Yeah.
you sample it at the end, and if it needs more chili powder, you put more chili powder.
And if you're type A personality that freaks you out, like just a little bit, just a little.
It's all right.
Yeah, it is okay. It's all gonna be okay. The first couple times, like if you want to do the samples, like just give it a shot. And you're like, you know what? My individual preference, I want more chili powder in it. Go for it. That's great.
And I didn't say, this recipe would be easy to split. So if you have some people who are
Yes.
only gonna eat ground beef in their sloppy joe, do the sauce, split it into 2 little containers, and then you can add your lentils to some and some ground beef, ground turkey that you've already cooked to the other, and then everybody's happy with their eating the same dinner.
Okay, good.
I have a question about the lentils.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in quality for lentils? Like, my husband swears, like, I don't say he's a picky eater, he's like super tasty or something, but he swears that when he eats like some lentils, like he thinks they taste better than others. And I'm, you know, if I see a sale, like I'll buy like the discount lentils. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had an opinion on like the quality of lentils.
Yeah, I do not personally. I would need to look up like the taste in using different lentils for different things and things like that. I can definitely get back to y'all with that answer. We did, which kind of sparked me, a good question we had this morning was the protein difference between lentils versus chicken or ground turkey or something like that. And really surprised, lentil is a good, hearty, plant-based protein. So I think per similar serving, we'll say like a 3-ounce serving, like about the palm of your hand for meat or lentils, it's about a 7 to 8 gram difference of protein, which really isn't too much. You're not going to, ruin your dinner, your child's workout, post-workout, or anything like that between like 7 grams of protein. It's really not that much of a difference, and a really great option if you're trying like a meatless Monday or a flexitarian type thing at your house. It's a really great option to try it out because it takes on the flavor of all these other wonderful spices and tomato sauce base with it. Yeah. Okay.
Can you pack these in school lunches?
Oh, that's an excellent question.
Great question.
Have you tried this?
Well, I did not send these to lunch because,
Oh,
again, they were not greeted enthusiastically at my house.
right.
However, if you have one of those little hot igloo lunch kits,
Yeah.
warm them up and throw them in there. That would work for these. All the rest of it, absolutely.
Yeah.
My kids ate the oatmeal cups cold the other day. They just walked in the house and smelled them and said, "Can I have one?" We didn't heat them up. And the frittatas, you can serve at room temperature, so they would be totally fine at lunch.
I'm a big fan of different type school lunches, right? So leftovers from the night before or oatmeal cups or frittata cups as your base, just to mix up the sandwich, salad, wrap routine, right? I have a lot of burnout on school lunches that I talk about with families. So sometimes when we're mixing up the routine and bento boxes and thermoses and things like that really can make a difference in the quality and acceptability of packing lunch. Because I know sometimes it's not the coolest thing to do, but it really does open up the door to different variety too.
And I'm not sure which building you're in, if you're elementary, I can't see.
Yeah, we can't see.
For all I know, you're 16,
Yeah.
I don't think you are, but anyway. My kids at middle school have microwaves. So if you really want your eggs warm when you get to middle school, you can stick them in the microwave for 15 seconds or so and take some of that chill off of it.
Yep, great options. Any other questions? I think we hit all our points on that too.
I think so.
Okay, all right, we're moving on to our last one.
This is the easiest one. Absolute easiest one.
Yes.
Mexican at our house is a huge hit because you can customize it. When you're eating burritos together or tacos together, you kind of send the kids down the line and they can grab extra black beans, lettuce, tomato, cheese, whatever they want to put on it. These are crock pot tacos made with chicken. About 8 hours in the crock pot. They shred up really nice, and this recipe makes a ton. I made it just to sample it before we did this presentation. We did burritos one night, we made nachos a night, and then I had some left and I stuck it in the freezer for a third dinner. So you're gonna get a lot out of it.
And a big family. Imagine how, like, it's just my husband and I, so imagine how far that would carry us.
You'd be eating it all month.
I would, all month.
I would stick with the amount of chicken that the recipe calls for, only because it would be way too saucy if you cut it back. So this is super easy. It's 5 ingredients. Your favorite salsa, whatever that is. It can be red, it can be green, it can be spicy, it can be mild, chunky, not chunky, truly anything you want. You dump that in. We're gonna add a packet of taco seasoning. If you have one that you like, use that. If you make it at home, use that. It's just for that nice taco flavor. And there's a little bit of flour in these generally, so it kind of helps thicken up the sauce as well. We're gonna take 2 limes and juice them.
That roll is key. If you're going to like hand juice a lime or a lemon, just give it a little roll first.
It breaks up all the little, what are those called? I'm sure they have an official name. It helps the juice come out.
She got the prettiest limes. I was looking at these this morning. I know, ooh.
And the nice thing about this, most of this stuff you can keep in your pantry. I usually have chicken in my freezer. I always have salsa, and I keep taco seasoning in my pantry when I make it at home. If those are the 3 ingredients you have, you could make it and just completely skip the limes and the cilantro. I also had a gentleman mention this morning that he cannot eat cilantro, it tastes like soap. Which I think is not uncommon. You either love it or you don't. Just don't put it in if you don't like it. Or if 2 kids like it and the adults don't, put it on the side and do it later. So that's our sauce, right there. Just mix it all up. Put your chicken on top, turn on the crock pot and walk away.
Crock pots are such a time saver. Throughout the week, on the weekends, like I like to run my crock pot when I'm home, like during the day, so I can smell it, right? So that can't be during the week, of course, if it's working, but on the weekends, like it can be there and, you know, like make additions if I need to, or, you know, we can always adjust, like you can do this on 6 to 8 hours for low or 3 to 4 hours on high as well, just depending on the amount of time that you have.
I have not tried it in my Instant Pot. I don't know if there's enough liquid to do it in the Instant Pot. If you wanted to do that, you would probably have to add a little water to it, and then it would be a different consistency at the end. So once these cook, they fall apart. If you feel like you're making a huge mess trying to shred it in your crock pot, pull the chicken out, stick it on a cookie sheet or in like a 9x13 pan, just shred it with a couple forks and then dump it back in and mix it back up with that salsa, and you've got dinner.
Great. Yeah, a question, oh, yeah, we'll go ahead with your question.
If you have a KitchenAid mixer, I always throw all my meat and use the paddle. And it works.
I gave a friend of mine, I said that this morning. I was like, I saw this Chow Hound video. I've never done it, but yeah, and that, so the KitchenAid, the one that I saw and that I really want to try is like a hand mixer, right? And so
I put in my big guy with like the, I think it's the standard, like the silver paddle.
Yep.
And I do like a roast in no time.
Wow.
And I actually use my immersion one.
Really? To shred meat?
To shred, yeah.
Wow, she uses her immersion blender to shred meat. All these things to try. I might have to do like an Instagram live for this.
I bought claws.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the shredding claws? You like hold on to, I should have brought them in, I didn't, they're in the kitchen. You hold on to them and they've got little fingers. You kind of feel like, who's that superhero, Riley?
Wolverine.
Thank you. And you do this. That would be so much easier.
Or when
Yeah.
the meatloaf when it's too cold to mix up, I put it in there too.
Yeah.
With that paddle.
The paddle thing on the KitchenAid. Yeah, there's such good tips, guys. I just use a forks. This is so great. I'm going to save so much time in the kitchen. This is great. Awesome. And yeah, so these could be served so many ways.
Right.
Yeah. so many
I
ways.
think we
But
put it in a quesadilla too, we haven't tried that yet.
yeah, I've had it on a salad before. Is a really great option too. Yeah. So with this, and we were talking a lot this morning about the values of dinner, right? And keeping things calm, cool, and collected when it comes to dinner, because I know our lives are crazy busy, right? With kids, even not with kids, right? Like, even just my husband and I and our dog, right? Like, life is busy, right? And you still have to get dinner on the table every night, and you still have obligations that you need to fulfill. So overall, if you don't have time to sit down as a family at dinner every single night, don't beat yourself up, right? I think you have a great option or a great rule at your house where you say, like, everyone tries to eat with somebody. Is that right?
So my little one had soccer today at 5:30, and I gave the option, do you want to eat before, or do you want to eat after? And she said, I'd really like to eat before. So I just stood in the kitchen and prepped some stuff while she ate. It wasn't the whole family sitting down, but the kids tend to talk a little bit when they're eating. I think they forget all the other distractions, and you get information about school and whatever happened during the day. Just be in the general area. It may, my two bookends, I call them, they ate dinner together tonight because I was here and they were at soccer. We try not to eat alone, which is nice. And we try to turn cell phones off or put them away. Because
TV
it's
on.
too easy to get distracted when you've got that cell phone sitting next to you and you're not making conversation.
Yeah. And it does, like, learning to be conversational, like, is a skill. I feel like that we need to learn at the dinner table and having families together and things like that. But it doesn't have to be, don't put that added pressure on yourself, right? Like, it can just be 2 or 3 or, whatever it is, whatever you can swing, whatever you can make work. Try on the weekends or a night that's less busy to have everyone all together, or my cousins and I do a big dinner on Sunday nights sometimes just to have everyone over. But again, do what you can during the week. Don't beat yourself up. But the big one with no cell phones and no TV is not only is it distracting from the conversation, but what I run into a lot with my athletes, especially ones that are exhausted, tired, or have a lot of homework or things like that, all the things that they have to do, is they also then lose the ability to tell when they're hungry and full, right? It's like eating a bag of chips in front of the TV, right? Before you know it, you're so enthralled in the show and the bag of potato chips is gone. And you're like, I'm not even hungry, right? I'm just eating them and it's just repetition. So teaching them those hunger and satiety cues are big ones, and satiety just means when you're full. Be open-minded, realistic, and flexible when it comes to meal planning, right? It does not have to look like Instagram and Pinterest, right? It does not have to look pretty, and it does not have to look perfect. Emily gave a great suggestion this morning. If you're like, I need to go out and buy containers. I need to buy all my lids that match. I need to buy new kitchen scissors. Like, no, right? Starts anywhere, right? Go to Goodwill and buy Tupperware. Go buy glassware. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just needs to be functional. Whatever helps get you dinner on the table, start with 1 night a week. Start with 2 nights a week, whatever works best for you. I have some families that I work with that planning all of their meals for the entire month. They just sit there with a blank calendar and they write things out, not anything complicated, right? Like Thursday night we're gonna have chicken tacos. Friday night we're gonna have lentil ragu, yes. And Wednesdays are always pizza night, right? Just the general things. You don't have to plan out the individual things. You can go week by week to build your grocery list, or you go by week. Again, you just kind of figure out what works best for your family. Another one is aim for a food-first approach. So I get a lot of questions about supplements for athletes and just in general, and I am a food-first dietitian. We need to try our best to do what we can versus supplementing our kids with things, right? We can get plenty of protein in our diet for the most part. Are there certain stipulations and challenges we run into? Yes, absolutely. But protein is really over-glorified, I think, and it really is much easier, I think, than we think to get enough protein in our diet, even for growing athletes, if possible. And again, I'm not saying supplements aren't recommended in certain situations. Work closely with the people you love, your family, healthcare professionals, dietitians, your pediatrician, that type of thing. But let's try to transform our thinking to be, how can we do this through food first versus jumping right to a supplement? Also, emphasize sustainability. So as we're talking about this, sustainable eating habits for your family, right? I really do not like the word diet, right? That implies something that's short term, right? And we want to be working together as a family to identify things that we can be doing together as a family and as a community that we can continue to do, right? And this not be a short term thing. Whether it's adding more vegetables to what we eat most of the day, and whether it's we're going to try a meatless Monday, or we're going to try to meal plan by week or by a month, right? We don't want to make it so stringent and give ourselves so many rules that we fail or feel defeated before we even get started, right? That's really important too. Make practical suggestions based on schedule and food preferences, kind of which we talked a lot about throughout the presentation as well. And that all foods can fit, right? Whether it's chocolate chips or M&Ms in baked oatmeal cups, right? You know, I'm not saying M&Ms for every meal, right? We're just saying all foods can fit, and we make sure that I'm big on, and I should have said this earlier. I'm sorry that I didn't, but I'm big on words: fuel, energy, and nourish our body. Looking at different ways to talk about food and have conversations about food and our bodies and all those fun things, right? We're going to say, instead of saying, you need to eat a healthy snack before soccer, saying, you know what, let's pick an energizing snack so you can make it through the 2-hour practice, right? You seemed a little tired, you seemed a little weak last time, let's make sure we get you an energy-dense snack for this time. Or if your kiddo's having trouble with body image, right? And they're saying different things that are concerning you, right? We say, all right, let's work together to find things that will nourish your body, right? We need to take care of your body, we need to energize your body, we need to fuel your body, versus focusing on words like good, bad, healthy, unhealthy, right? These things sometimes, even though we're trying to do good, don't always carry the most positive connotation. And it gets really difficult, and it's not a perfect science, right? But trying to work on using that word and using that terminology as a whole family found to be helpful. I think I covered all my points. We have a couple books that we would like to share, both cookbooks and book resources alike, and those will all be included some. We'll get it to you.
And they have a small library, it's still on there, right?
Yes.
There's a small library outside in the lobby where some of the books that we recommended, they got them from the Dublin Library just for you to kind of take a look at them. You can write down the names of them if you want to go check them out. I know when my kids were little, we used kids' cookbooks a lot. They would bring them home from the library at school. We would flip through and find 1 or 2 recipes that they thought looked good or interesting or had fun food in it, whatever it was, and we would make that. And a lot of times just getting that buy-in from a younger child, having them help you make it. We tried a lot of food that we wouldn't have otherwise. I didn't mention this morning. When the kids were in preschool, they always did a letter of the week. Cool. This when the kids were little. So we meal planned around their letter for the week. And every week we would incorporate foods that started with whatever that letter was. Q was difficult. We did it.
Quinoa,
Quiche, and pork cheese. But it was more, they were talking about it at school, so they were interested, and so it was a little bit easier to get them to try some things, and they found some stuff they liked, and maybe some stuff that they didn't care for, but it was a fun way to get them involved.
yeah. And tell them about this.
Before we went to Disney, we were trying to keep the kids excited and engaged, because you know when you plan a trip, it's so far off. We did Disney-themed dinners once a week. And so one of them was themed around the movie Aladdin, and we made kebabs and had hummus and pita and baklava and things that you would have found in that area of the world where the movie is set. We did Mary Poppins and did little like tea sandwiches, and had a tea party and scones, and again, it was a fun way. The kids were engaged, they were interested, they loved their princesses. I have 3 girls. and it was a really nice way to kind of get them involved in the meal planning and create some excitement for dinner. And when I pulled it up to look at it the other day, they all remembered it, which was really fun.
And like with that, like on a much smaller scale, I have nieces who love Minnie Mouse. And so I got them a Minnie Mouse cookie cutter. And so when they ask for toast, Minnie Mouse toast coming at you, right? And that's just different things like that are quick, easy, cheap, not time intensive. Yeah, that's great. What are your favorite books?
I love anything by Mark Bittman. I think he makes food super approachable. His recipes are pretty down to earth. Tend to not take too much stuff, a lot of fresh ingredients. My kids have helped me cook out of his book before. Again, I love the kids' cookbooks. Those are sort of my go-tos. I have a few websites that I really like. 2 of these recipes were from Minimalist Baker. And those websites will get posted where the recipes are, so you can go check those out.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of hers as well. She's a food blogger. To be honest, I don't remember if she has a cookbook. It would surprise me if she doesn't. But I use that website a lot. She really encourages the food first approach that we've talked about so much. My favorites are, there's a cookbook called The Vegetable Butcher by her name, and I should have looked it up on my 6-hour break, Kara M. Period. I don't remember her last name. She owns Little Eater here in Columbus. So Little Eater is a food mart down in the North Market, downtown, and she did have a shop in Clintonville as well, but they unfortunately closed. And I really like it because it takes you step by step in alphabetical order through different vegetables, how to prepare it, how to store it, how to use it, gives different recipes as part of it. For Christmas this year, I just did one of these. I just kind of opened it up and I said, what vegetable can I use? And my vegetable that I got to use as part of Christmas dinner was sunchokes. Never used sunchokes, didn't know how to look for a sunchoke, didn't know, it's in the artichoke family. And they're like this big, but they taste like a potato. Who knew? And they were great. We incorporated them as part of like a norchetti pasta with broccoli and different things. Something I probably wouldn't have otherwise used, and fun to try something new, right? And new things at the store that you just overlook. But I really like it, and it's great, just step-by-step instructions too. Lots of pictures. I'm a picture person when it comes to cookbooks. Another one that I like is called Run Fast, Eat Slow. It's by a woman who won the New York City Marathon, and the different recipes and reviews that she used to fuel her training. No, not to say like you're like, well, I'm not a marathon runner. That's okay. You don't have to be to eat these really great recipes. She also worked with a chef as well. Then they co-wrote the book together. Again, really simple, practical, energy-dense suggestions for you and athletes alike. And last but not least, this is more of a resource that I offer to parents. It's called Your Child's Weight, Helping Without Harming. I couldn't remember which age came first, but Helping Without Harming, and it's by a woman named Ellen Satter. And I really am, if Ellen Satter writes a book, I read it, or I recommend it, or I look into it a little more. She's been in the business a long time. Really, I'm using the words fuel and energy and nourish and using the language I am with patients and parents and athletes alike a lot because of the work that she's done in the field. She's great. It's a really great read. I was going to bring a copy to put on display today, but I gave it to a patient family saying they could borrow it, and here we are. I don't even remember who has it, so I learned my lesson, but it's okay. Get another copy. It's really not too expensive on Amazon or anything like that. There are electronic copies available as well, but again, that's Your Child's Weight, Helping Without Harming. Really great resource. Yeah.
You mentioned today some classes that, cooking classes that students can take.
Great.
You mentioned those.
Yes. You want to start with the
name of it.
Young Chefs? You go first.
Young Chefs Academy. I'm terrible with
Young
names.
Chefs Academy.
It's over in Gahanna, so it's kind of a hike. We had done some summer camps there, and it is well worth the drive. They encourage the kids to really get into recipes, read them, understand what they're putting together. they're doing the hands-on work. I think my daughter was probably 10 or 11 when she went over there. They do a really nice job of getting kids interested in food. They send them home with recipes. And it was where I discovered ceramic knives. That's what they use there.
Yep.
My kid's always going to help me in the kitchen, but I'm not going to hand them this because it's super sharp and it's big and they're still learning how to cut. Ceramic knives are not expensive, maybe $15 for a couple of them on Amazon, and it's hard to puncture the skin, but it'll cut through things while you're cutting. So we've used those quite a bit in our home kitchen.
Yeah, and there are, like, I have, even for really young kids too, it really is good for cutting kale and romaine lettuce and other things. That's really like all it will cut through. It's plastic, and you can just use it to cut lettuce, and like kids sometimes they think they're chopping something or something soft. It will work on, again, it's just a plastic knife, but it's big like this. So they kind of get the gist, like, oh, I have a big knife like daddy, or I have a big knife like mommy. You know, we have one of those just when our, again, nieces and nephews come over and things like that. Sur La Table has really good classes for kids as well. They offer them more in the summer. I was saying this morning too, I tried to take some classes over the summer and I couldn't get in because the kids' classes were taking up so much of the day, which is a great thing. I have also given a lot of gift cards and things like that to Sur La Table, to nieces, nephews, parents, other relatives as well. So just something more of an experience, right? I really love giving experiences as gifts. And then also, where else we said? Sur La Table, Young Chefs Academy, Local Matters. Local Matters is downtown across the street from Main Campus Children's Hospital, so kind of a hike from Dublin. But what I really like about it is that you don't have to technically pay for the classes. If the classes do have a fee, it's very small. But usually if it's free, they do encourage a donation. So anyone from the direct community or outer line community can come in and donate what they can afford. Right? And it is a community organization, Nationwide Children's works alongside of them a lot. They have a beautiful kitchen that you can work in. And again, it's kind of pulling from all neighborhoods, and they have a lot of different themes that they do, and it can be families, kids, whoever can come in. Yeah?
I was gonna also suggest to Savoir Cooking and Wine in downtown Powell.
We're gonna come to you.
Oh, sorry.
Microphone.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
No, you're good.
Sorry, I was just going to suggest that Savoir Cooking and Wine in downtown Powell also for
okay.
kids cooking classes.
That's awesome. Thank you. Love that. It's a little closer than Local Matters and Chef's Academy. Do we have any other questions about anything? Cooking, baking?
When's a good time to contact a dietitian in your family? Big, small, and so forth?
Yeah, great question. Anytime you want is the answer. I'll take you anytime. But really, when we're talking about eating concerns and picky eating, where's the line, right? I think my kid's a picky eater. As a kid, as a young kid, they ate absolutely everything. And then as the years went on, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And we haven't been able to get a hold of it. My first encouragement is just make sure that you're looping your pediatrician into the conversation. Because they're usually really great about knowing not only what's going on right now, but also where you've been, right? So they can help you make that decision when might be best to refer to a registered dietitian, or if this picky eating has crossed over another line into concern for disordered eating or eating disorders, right? Because that's a completely different line of treatment. That's more so we're referring to a higher level of care and getting multidisciplinary care with a doctor, a dietitian, psychology, things like that. And again, your pediatrician is a really great start. But if you're also pretty confident that you're no, we're just working with some poor eating habits, some picky eating habits, we need some more meal ideas, things like that. A lot of dietitians' offices, myself included, don't require a referral. You can just call or schedule anytime. But again, I'm always big on collaborative communication. It's never a bad idea to loop your pediatrician or other healthcare professional into the conversation.
And I'm guessing it will vary from pediatrician's office to pediatrician's office. I mentioned a couple questions at my oldest daughter's checkup the other day, and she said, well, why don't you come in and meet with our dietitian? And I kind of looked at her and she said, we have one on staff, it's part of our wellness initiative, she's here on Thursdays. And she said there's no charge. So if you're starting to have those kind of questions and you check in with your pediatrician, you may be pleasantly surprised that they have a resource right there for you in their office, and they can all work together as a team.
And you just might not know about it because it's never come up before, or that you have, and we all know child visits, right? There's so much to cover, right? Like, how was your past year, right? There's a lot, and kids change a lot and have a lot of different needs and things like that. So it just might not have ever come up before. It's a great point that you just might not know what resources they have available.
Any other questions?
It's like late nights.
This was a great evening. Thank you so much for everything. And